Good morning, everyone. This is Stacy Krolak, and we are live with Sip with Stacy. And morning, everyone. This is Stacy Krolak, and I have the distinct pleasure of having Margo Willis on today. And the idea behind our live stream is to take a deep dive into leadership, but more specifically, these leaders living by the council's mission, vision, and values. I was inspired to start this program because as leaders, we lift as we climb, and mentors along my leadership journey have extended their hand to me. And so I am passionate about the same for others, and I am just thrilled to have others share their leadership experience. So we have Margo Willis today. She hails from Tacoma, Washington. So everyone, let's give Margo a wonderful greeting and hello on this Tuesday morning. So hello, Margo. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Stacy. I am doing fantastic and happy to be here. I love to talk about Women's Council, and I also love to talk about leadership. So thank you for the invitation.
Yes, it is an honor and a privilege. So thank you so much, Margo. And we are just going to start off today's leadership sip with Stacy, just learning more about Margo. And so we want to know about your first leadership role, Margo.
Oh, well, it was Women's Council. I've been a Women's Council member for 29 years. And the first leadership role I had was in Women's Council. And it's kind of a funny story because I had just became a realtor and had gotten out of the Army. And of course, the Army was really a lot of male domination, as far as that time frame when I was in it. So although many women were in the military at that time too, but I just thought that when it said Women's Council was putting on a lunch and learn, I said I would go. And I dragged along one of my teammates from our office. His name was Bob. And so we both were new and we wanted to know about advertising. And actually the individual who was presenting that day was presenting on how to be effective advertisers in our industry. So I went to the meeting and I was greeted at the door by Catherine Vinci. I'll never forget her. She was phenomenal. She was the local president at that time. So I went and we sat down to have lunch and we talked to the presenter and realized that we were the only ones who were attending that day along with the president. So needless to say, my first leadership opportunity was the next year to be president-elect. So that's how I started on my leadership journey in Women's Council.
You went to your first meeting and then soon after that, you were on the leadership line, right?
I was recruited right there. Yes, indeed. Absolutely. And I don't regret it. It was one of the best opportunities I've had. Yes. You never know.
That's right. That's right. Oh, that's wonderful. So now you just had spoke about your career in the Army. I believe you are a veteran of 20 years. Could you please talk about that and that experience? I know you had mentioned that there was mostly male domination. That had to be very brave of you to go into that role.
And when I say male domination, the only thing I meant is by numbers. Because as long as you were in the military, if you were a leader and you could walk the walk and talk the talk, that means do your job and sometimes better than everyone else, then you were fine. So 20 years in the military, and I will say that I had the privilege of serving also as a drill sergeant. And when I was a drill sergeant, I trained women as well as men. And in fact, some of the men that we trained were a holdover from Fort Benning, which were the infantry guys. So again, as a drill sergeant, then went on to become a first sergeant and also had an opportunity to serve at the Inspector General's office as an inspector. But with the 20 years, of course, the great thing about that, and the reason that I'm an MRP, military relocation professional, is because I had the pleasure of moving 10 times in 20 years. So some of those were here in the United States, some were international in Germany, Korea, and Japan. But love the 20 years that I had, proud to be a veteran. So yeah, there you go.
Well, absolutely. Thank you for your service. Have such respect for anyone that serves for our wonderful country. So thank you for that. Let's talk about, the setup of what the Army did for you as a leader. I'm sure that has a lot to do with how you lead going on and today.
That's a great question and a great point. I will say that you are a self-starter if you've been in the military. You have a certain amount of discipline. But I will also say there's a total difference between serving in the military, where individuals had to listen based on your rank, okay? There was no question about that. And having volunteers who want to serve and do the job. So I think that one, you automatically, by virtue of your rank or your uniform, you are going to have individuals who will listen and who will do what they have to do. But when you become a leader in a volunteer sense, it's just as important for you to set the standard, for you to walk the walk and talk the talk, because individuals have to want to follow whatever you want to hopefully direct them to. Yeah, a little bit different. Yeah.
Good point. Good point. That's so eye-opening, because that's true. In the service, you don't have a decision in that, right?
Yeah, you don't have the luxury of saying, well, no, I don't think I'll do that. No, you better be doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is a really, really good point. And I'm sure that just character building and confidence also played a huge role, because I'm sure that developed you into the strong leader that you are as well.
Yeah, I think that had a bearing on the individual that I am today because of those 20 years, because I even still get up early. I still enjoy working out, and doing the things that hopefully will keep me healthy, as well as wanting to learn, gain more knowledge. So I think those are some of the things that are instilled in you in the military. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Being a lifelong learner. I love that. I love that advice. Now, what piece of advice do you have for incoming leadership?
Well, that's a great question, really. Well, first and foremost, I will say that one of my best opportunities I've had to serve was when I served as Deborah Tatum Gilmore's president-elect for National Women's Council. And I say, first and foremost, any leader has to have a servant's heart, and it helps to be kind to everyone, whether we're talking about members, whether we're talking about guests or staff, our association, or the organization. And also making sure that we understand it's not about us, as a leader. It's not about me, it's about the team. I've been fortunate to be on some wonderful teams, to include the team that I'm going to be on for 2023 at NAR with Kenny Parcell, Pete Koff, and those phenomenal liaisons we have. Also, anytime you have an opportunity to serve, give it your best. Give it your best. And if you can't give it your best, then just say no. If your plate is too full, it's okay to say no, because no might mean not right now. So it's okay to do that. And last but not least, I'd say, find a mentor. You mentioned mentoring. So find a mentor, and also be a mentor to someone else. You know, you mentioned about Sabrina Brown and how we were at her installation. And certainly in past, she has mentioned me as a mentor, but now I am a mentee. I am definitely her mentee. She is moving and shaking, and I have no hesitation of saying how much I admire her, and certainly would go to her with questions. So I think those are the things, and of course, Women's Council being involved, they have so many opportunities at every level for you to build your leadership skills. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Yes, and I agree. Sabrina Brown is National Liaison 2022 for the Central Region, and I was 2021. So I passed that baton to her. So I got to work with her in that role and get to know her. And she is an awesome leader. And I just love you know, because when I look at you, Margo, I just see you way up here, you know, this awesome leader. You've achieved so much. And when you say that, you know, you are now a mentee to Sabrina, it just goes to show you that you are such a servant leader, because that's what leadership is about. You serve and you pass the baton and you step back and you let the next leader go forward. And so thank you for just being that servant leader, because we need more of those in our world, in Women's Council, in NAR. So thanks for just being a beaming example of what servant leadership is for all of us to follow and continue that. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And it's a privilege, you know, I mean, it's so many individuals who have given me tips and have been there to support me along the way. You know, we had that panel there at California Women's Council California, and Joanne Poole as well as Deborah Tatum Gilmore were there. And I've called on them, I've talked to them. Joanne Poole, who is a DSA, Distinguished Service Award recipient, was a Association Affairs Vice President previously. So, you know, we can do so much as far as reaching out to each other, collaboration, as well as relations. And Gail Hartnett, one of my best friends, we walked the leadership line together. We were both local presidents. We were state chapter at that time, network presidents. We went on to be local association presidents, as well as state association presidents. And it's just been, you know, support all along the way. And then she was a National Women's Council president, and so was I. So, you know, you just have relations, which is what, as much as anything else, Women's Council is about. Yeah, and support.
It is. It's all about relationships. And talking about the Women's Council in 2021, when I was National Liaison, I was able to interview you and Deborah Gilmore and Joanne Poole and Sylvia Seabolt on a DEI panel. And that's where I got to really know all of you a lot better, because we had a lot of pre-meetings. And so it kind of started that like I know about Joanne Poole. I asked her what's her favorite snack, and it's jelly beans. And so I just absolutely love that, you know, she shared that with me. And so I'm like, yes, I love that, you know, the little ins and outs of people and their leadership roles, and just to see the progression of leadership. Now I want to talk about 2011, you were national president for the Women's Council of Realtors. And I would like to talk, just hear about that experience in your leadership role and how that affected you.
That experience, you know, I think that anytime that you are the president of any organization, whether it is a local network, state network, whether it's national, your ultimate goal is to have a dream team. And I will say, I served with a dream team. And so it was selfless as far as all of the teammates, to include executive committee members. And I will tell you that Elizabeth Mendenhall served on exec for National Women's Council, which is where I had an opportunity to get to know her, as well as she was faculty for our academy. So You know, it was fantastic because we all had common goals, you know, strategic planning, and everyone bought in when we could be candid and state our perspectives. But when we walked out the door, we were all lockstep. We all believed in what we were doing. We all believed in the organization and our members and putting them first and helping them to be successful. So it was phenomenal. I got to meet members from across the country as I went and traveled and visited their different chapters, which are now networks. But it was an experience that you'll never forget, for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
So hopefully that gives you a little sense of what that year was about.
yes, yes, absolutely. That's wonderful. And I just love to hear that you all worked together as one unit. You lifted each other as you climbed, and that you had each other's backs. And that
Yes.
means so much, because leadership can be such a beautiful thing if we do it correctly and we're servant leaders. So thank you for sharing that experience in 2011 that you had. And also to everyone out there, if you have a question, please just post it on the feed there, and we will ask Margo that question too. So thank you. I see lots of comments and everyone is saying hello to you, Margo. So that's wonderful. Now I want to get into a little of just your personal life on your day off. What do you enjoy doing?
Well, it kind of depends on where I'm at. I have grandchildren that are in Houston, Texas. I have grandchildren that are in North Carolina, and then I have some here. So always, I love to spend time with my grandbabies, you know, although they're not all grandbabies, they're not babies. I have grandbabies and I have great grandbabies, but I enjoy spending time with family. But I also enjoy just taking a nice walk. You know, I'm a walker. I'm not a runner. I'm a walker through some of our parks. And also just going to get a nice relaxing massage. That to me is just the pinnacle, yeah, right there. Mhm.
That sounds wonderful. That sounds wonderful. Now we have Frances Anderson, and she's asking, Margo, what is your favorite Women's Council moment that projected you into leadership?
Wow. Well, let me just say there are two things that I want to say about that. The first one is this. If you know me, if you've known me for years, then you know that I went before a nominating committee for Women's Council, not one time, but two times. Okay. The first time is I was back in about 1999 when I thought I was ready. I did not come out in nominating. Okay. Which I was crushed because I thought I was ready. Okay. The second time when I went, it was because I was encouraged, I was implored, I was supported, and it wasn't about me. That's where that comes in. It's not about me. It was about our region. It was about our state. And so that time I did not come out of nominating again. However, I had the support of so many individuals that they said, run. And I was able to run and be elected, even though there were 5 of us who were running, and we were the smallest state. So I think that was what I think that was what showed me what leadership could be all about, because it was all of us coming together and supporting me in that case, but also supporting them because it was about them. So I think that's it. Yeah, that was it.
Wow.
So,
And
yeah.
and what position was that?
That was running for national. That was
Okay.
running for national. Yes, treasurer at that time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
So
never
running
give
for-
up, keep lifting as you climb, and keep pushing forward, and you will persevere.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's great. That's great. Okay, let's talk about this, Margo. This is one of my very favorite questions. I was asked this question one time in an interview. Were you born a leader, Margo Willis?
You know, there are 2 streams of thought. One is that we are born leaders, and the other one is we are learned. We learn to be a leader. I don't see myself as having been born a leader. Although I was an older child, it was only two of us, so you take that into consideration. But I believe everything that I've learned about leadership is a combination of the military, which doesn't help you with volunteers, but just overall, overarching the tenets of leadership that you gain from serving in the military, whether you serve for 3 years, 6 years, or 20 years. And then also the opportunities that I had to learn the additional skills, hone the skills with Women's Council. And that's where it all came together. So I would say more learned, even in the military, you learn leadership, as well as in Women's Council and in our industry. So I don't believe I was born a leader, but I do believe I've learned and been certainly a student of leadership. So thanks for that question. I hadn't thought about that before. So
it's a fun question. It makes you really go back in your mind.
It does, absolutely. Yeah.
And if you could now, Margo, talk about what you are doing at NAR, where your service is now, so we all understand that.
Sure. I'm finishing up my appointment as a member of the leadership in NARLA, the National Association of Realtors Leadership Academy. We are the advisory group, so we are the ones who select the Leadership Academy candidates who go through the program and then get all of that great training. And next year, I have been very blessed to be asked to serve as the Vice President of Association Affairs on the team, NAR leadership team, with our incoming president, Kenny Parcell, and my counterpart, who is the Vice President of Advocacy from Ohio, Pete Koff. So next year I'll be serving on NAR's leadership team. So very fortunate and blessed. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Honored.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, will you continue for the leadership role for NAR too? Will you still be serving in that capacity?
No, on the Leadership Academy, you mean? No,
Right.
no, I will not.
Okay.
I will be fully vested in Vice President of Association Affairs.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's wonderful. That's awesome. And we're also very excited for Kenny Purcell to be our NAR president, and that installation's coming up here real soon in about 3 weeks, I believe.
Yes.
And so that's great. Thank you for your service at NAR, Margo. We really appreciate that.
It's a privilege. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And now we want to ask you some personal questions so we can really get to know the Margo Willis. Tell us about your favorite snack. What does Margo like? What her go-to snack?
Oh, my favorite snack. Wow. There are just so many, so I am a foodie. So, but let's see, if I just had a snack, it just kind of depends. If I'm at a restaurant, I'm hoping they have creme brulee. But if I'm at home, it could be something like cookies, like those vanilla Oreos or something, which I really don't need to have. And I like smoothies. So that's pretty much it,
Oh,
I try to keep those cookies out of the house. When grandkids are there, that's great. But other than that, I try to keep it out of the house because I will be the one snacking on them. Yeah, I like sweets.
Are you a baker?
When I have to be. So and during the holidays. But other than that, no.
See, that's how I am, like a Thanksgiving, Christmas, but other than that, not so much anymore.
True.
Yes. So I heard this, and maybe you can answer this, being part of the leadership with Kenny Parcell and Kenny's writing with the brand. I hear that there's a leadership bus and they're going to be going throughout the country and visiting certain associations and states and whatnot. Is that something that you will be a part of as well?
Yes, I think all of the leadership team at some point in time will be part of the Riding with the Brand group. And when we talk about brand, we're talking about the National Association of Realtors, us as the brand. We are the brand. We are the realtors. We are the brand. So riding with the brand just means that we are riding with who we are as far as NAR. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We will be going to associations, and it will be different individuals who will be riding at different times. So we're hoping that we can reach out and connect with lots of members. Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
That's so exciting, and I cannot wait. I hope that Arizona and our association is one of your stops. If it is, I will definitely be there. But when I heard about this, I thought this was just wonderful. So I'm very excited.
We are grateful for members, and we really want to see members and let them know how much we care.
Oh, that's wonderful. That means so much to us as members, especially to see our national leadership visit us and makes us feel so special. So we are excited to hopefully see you on that leadership bus. Margo, what is next for Margo Willis and her leadership journey?
I love the way you asked that question. And I will say, you phrased it correctly, because it is a journey. It is not a destination. This new leg of my journey that I will be on next year, I had never even anticipated an opportunity to serve at that level. So what is next for me? I have to say that I'm open to the possibilities. I do a lot of teaching. I won't be doing that this year, absolutely not. But I'm open to the possibilities. My journey has not been a straight journey. I've not had positions that I had, outlined that I needed to reach. And so I've just been blessed with opportunities by serving and the relationships that I've built. So what is next? My job is to be mentoring and bringing other folks along with me, as we talked about, as far as mentoring and helping other folks to get into these opportunities, these positions. I'm also involved with NAREB, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, as well as other organizations. So my job really is to help as many others who have questions about leadership or moving into leadership or want to be leaders, become their, whatever their goal is. Yeah.
That's so awesome. And it truly is just going back to how much of a servant leader you are, because you're always looking and lifting others as you climb. And so that's what it's all about, is reaching out that hand of help and helping others. So thank you for everything that you do, Margo. We so appreciate it. And I definitely see it. So thank you. I just think so much of you as a leader.
My privilege.
I want to ask you now, what is the best piece of advice you have for someone just starting in their leadership roles?
Well, I would say first and foremost, make sure you understand why. Understand why you are taking on that leadership opportunity. And then also surround yourself with individuals that you can call on, and they don't have to physically be there. Just as I mentioned with Gail, when we were going through our leadership travails, we could pick up the phone and call each other and talk about what was going on. But have you a group that is there to support you as you're moving forward, and someone that you can call on that's going to call you out if you're not doing the job, who will hold you accountable. But just do it. Nike has the best slogan of all, just do it. If you are starting on your leadership journey, be kind to others and just do it. Have a servant's heart, because remember, it's not about you. And just give it your all, give it your best. Yeah, go with your passion. There are so many, especially in Women's Council, there are so many different ways that you can go, but go with your passion. You know, if it's numbers, if it's finance, if it's teaching, if it's something else, you know, then go with your passion. So yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah.
I just want to share with you, Margo, I'm looking at the feed here on the side, and Parshna and Francis, they're saying NAR president. That's where they see you.
No.
No.
But I love y'all. I love you, each one of you. Oh, great.
My goodness. Well, I just love that you've got such a passion for serving others, and it's all about others, and lifting as we climb, and helping others find their greatness and igniting the greatness of leadership within them, and to give them that light so they can go forward as well. And I've said this many times, I really feel like the Women's Council is making our networks better, one member at a time, our communities, our associations, NAR, everything, because we really teach servant leadership. And I know that is one of my biggest takeaways from the Women's Council is just the servant leadership that you learn with serving. And so thank you for just being that example for all of us, because that's how we learn, by great examples. So you are just a wonderful example, and thank you for all that you have done. And we know that you are going to do so much more.
My privilege. Thank you so much for having me. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to talk about leadership and an organization that I love tremendously, part of the Realtor Family Women's Council. So thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thanks for all of your inspiration. Everyone is just commenting that you have inspired them so much, and that they are so grateful that you are one of the Women's Council leaders and NAR leaders. So thank you, Margo, for everything. Thank you for taking the time to be on Sip with Stacey, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
You too. Make it great.
Okay. Thank you, Margo.
Bye.
Bye-bye.